What's going on, guys? Oh my, Godzilla back with a very exciting Godzilla figure review, guys. Today from HIYA Toys in their Exquisite basic line, we have the Godzilla pre-evolved from Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. This figure, as always, from HIYA, definitely a very good figure. But what we will dive into today is, was its existence overly justified? It is very similar to a couple other figures we've gotten in the past. But, of course, nonetheless, it looks beautiful. So, guys, let's jump right in. So first things first, I want to take a look at the packaging of this figure. Very cool, very bright packaging. Looks great, of course. Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, Exquisite basic. You got Godzilla there. It does not say pre-evolved, which is fine, but just something worth noting. Top of the box, pretty basic. All the sides are pretty basic on HIYA. HIYA does not go overly hard with their packaging. Cool image of the figure there. Some goodies in there. And then there is the bottom of the box. So again, not a ton to say. HIYA never really does too much with their boxes, but the artwork on and colors on the front, of course, it does look very good. One last thing on the boxes that I thought was worth noting, the colors are kind of very similar. They just kind of have a bright neon-y kind of coloring. More pinks and purples on this side, but the blue and the kind of pinkish purple is present on this backside. So it's kind of interesting how they kind of seemed to line up pretty well on the coloring of their packaging. Alrighty, so getting back into the goodies, that is the figure, of course. We'll go ahead and take a look at paint detail and all that good stuff, as always, first. And then before we jump into the kind of comparisons for the figure up against kind of the other versions of this figure. So again, toe claws, paint, detail, everything, of course, from HIYA Toys. Very beautiful. You kind of have a bit of the orangish red hue coming through that bottom, kind of, I guess, more of an orangish tan hue, kind of coming through those the scales and whatnot. Really present in the body. The camera is not picking up quite as good as present as it is, but definitely some of that kind of brownish coming through. Detail, on the tail is very good, of course. It looks a little shorter than I kind of feel like sometimes Godzilla's tail is. It's kind of the same deal with most of the HIYA Godzillas, but still looks very good. Spines, of course, look very good. Everything's lined up really nicely, so from the back he looks really good. Moving kind of into the hands and stuff. Good. One complaint that I've kind of consistently had with HIYA Toys is they don't do enough to define the different colors of the claws versus the skin. So it's kind of a little unfortunate that they don't do a little bit better job like MonsterArts actually did end up doing. So that's just something to note. But the face of this Godzilla does look absolutely amazing. Super good looking. I love how he looks. Mouth closes all the way. Looks really good. There he is from the front, kind of looking down. The barrel looks pretty even and symmetrical. That's always good. Opening the mouth. Kind of a more purpley hue to his mouth than we're used to. And we'll see that more in the true side-by-side. The teeth look very good. Love the sculpt. This head sculpt, the head sculpt on HIYA Toys just is so impeccably beautiful. I love it. You got the gills kind of there. So again, as always, I cannot really come up with anything bad to say about the paint, the sculpt and the detail. Looks great. Paint, I guess, leaves a tiny bit to be desired, just because, everything is just the kind of same color. I wish they had the spine, the spikes could be a little darker and more prominent, especially as you get down into the tail. Like, they literally just look like they're part of the tail as opposed to kind of individual spines. And then the hand claws and the toe claws could be a little bit darker shaded, just to kind of give them a little bit more pop and difference on the figure. But everything else, guys, super beautiful on this figure. Articulation-wise on this guy, starting from the head, moving down. Again, we're going to have that jaw articulation. And as with HIYA Toys, if you can see in there, we do have the tongue articulation. That piece individually moves, so you can kind of pose it in the middle of his mouth, down at the bottom, or you can kind of reset it to the top of his mouth by just closing that jaw, popping it back up, and it is kind of at the top. I think it probably looks best kind of, a third of the way up, so give or take, if you're going to have the mouth open. Head, some side to side. The more you loosen these joints up, the better they move. But, for me, this is enough, moving. I don't need to move his head much more than that. Got a couple of neck joints, going to kind of allow him to look down some, look up some. And again, like, the more you tighten, and then, if you move all the neck joints, he can really get some side to side on the neck there. In terms of the arms, the shoulders will kind of pop out, pinch in. You do get 360 on the shoulder joint there. So very posable on the arms. Elbow joint, going to go kind of from straight, coming up to a little less than 90 degrees. So not super articulate, but that's okay. You do get good side to side movement on that as well. The hand, easy 360 on it. And then the wrist, you do get some mobility out of. So very posable arms, as always with HIYA Toys. Godzilla. The waist, tiny bit of side to side. That's really all you're getting. Not really any up and down. Legs, gonna go kind of from the cowboy straddle, I like to call, and then they can kind of pinch in. You could push them for more if you wanted to, but that's about as comfortable as I feel like going with them. And then up, they can kind of comfortably go to there. You could push them 360 if you really wanted to, though. At the knee, You kind of have straight, bent, good mobility there. You can get a little side to side on the shin, but since it's not shaped like a perfect circle, it's kind of an oval, that piece doesn't want to shift too much inside that joint there. And then the foot, you don't have a ton, but you get a little point and flexing, some side to side on that. The tail, and again, the more you play with this, the kind of looser it gets. This guy's very fresh out of the packaging. That's about as far as he'll go without feeling a little too much resistance. In the upward position, the downward position, about there, and you do get some little gapping issues, but nothing too crazy. And then side to side, get pretty good mobility. So it's got pretty good all-around mobility. I always love doing this. I remember the feeling I had when I got my first SH MonsterArts Godzilla. It was Godzilla 2014. Very few things have come up to that level of just like moving that tail, just totally waving it up and down. Super fun. I just totally remember my reaction being so crazy when I first realized, like, oh my gosh, these figures are articulate as all get out. So there's the articulation for our Godzilla pre-evolved. Guys, first comparison I wanted to do him up against is the SH MonsterArts Godzilla pre-evolved. Obviously, they're kind of going for two different takes on the Godzilla. Obviously, this one's more of an atomic one with the blue spines, blue eyes, and everything, so we're going to kind of ignore that. But sculpt-wise, both spines look really great, I would definitely say. The HIYA Toys are definitely kind of a little more pinched together. There's a little more spread out here. I think the look on the HIYA Toys definitely kind of looks a little more screen accurate. Kind of has a little bit better flow to it, where these kind of break up a tiny bit more. Definitely kind of reminds me of like Godzilla 2000 spines. They're just a little pokey and kind of separated. But I mean, this figure's still gorgeous. I just did a video on him, so go check that out if you have not seen it. And then obviously HIYA Toys does their figures in a 1-inch larger scaling, so that's worth noting. Bodies are going to be fairly similar. HIYA Monsters definitely gave us kind of more joints in here. You can see there's kind of, probably easier to tell from the side, but there's actually, you know, joint here, joint there. So this torso is incredibly, you know, got a lot more movement out of the torso and articulation out of the head. I cannot recreate this pose as well with this figure. It's not bad by any means, but he cannot look as straight up as possible. And this is just incredibly articulate here. So there's that worth noting. Obviously, this SH MonsterArts much darker in the skin kind of color. Again, I would definitely kind of lean more towards HIYA Toys being more of an accurate one. Not at all to say that the SH MonsterArts is not a lot of fun. Something I really loved SH MonsterArts for this time around, guys. Check out the different colors on the hand claws versus the skin. I guess it's partially easier because the skin's so dark, but they definitely had a lot more difference in color there. Head sculpts, again, HIYA Toys definitely going to be a little more accurate. SH MonsterArts never really came around to getting the kind of perfect Godzilla Monsterverse head sculpt down, but nonetheless, it's still a great figure. But in terms of accuracy, I definitely would have to take HIYA Toys, but SH MonsterArts probably has them beat in articulation. This tail, pretty darn, you can get the wave kind of going in there. So SH MonsterArts definitely takes the cake in articulation, and you know, they win a couple points for paint because of the claw differentials. The teeth are obviously a lot less accurately painted. So, you know, it's kind of a toss-up. You definitely just have to kind of look at, if you're choosing between one and the other, you definitely have to just kind of look at the figures and decide which one you want. It also helps that this figure, $51, this figure was like $80 or something like that. So, something also to note when comparing the two. Guys, before we get into the comparison of the Godzilla vs. Kong Godzilla figure that they've given us, that this figure was heavily based on, I just wanted to size it up to a couple other figures just to give you a sense for the scaling. Here is the SH MonsterArts new Kong, so it's a little smaller. Gonna definitely be smaller because it's in different scaling, but I just wanted you to see it. Next up is the HIYA Toys Kong, so this one being from Godzilla vs. Kong. So there's the height difference. You've seen it before, you've seen it a million times. If you've seen any videos talking about the two, any HIYA Toys Godzilla and Kong, he's gonna cameo in those videos as well. Last one I wanted to show you, just the height difference in just the Bandai Movie Monster Series figure. This is the Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong. Obviously kind of more on a 6-inch, more on a 7-inch scale, and then obviously Bandai kind of has, you know, they don't cater towards the incredible detail and everything. So just wanting to show you those two figures side by side before we jump into the big comparison for the day. Alrighty, here it is. Godzilla X Kong, Godzilla V Kong. So very similar. Looking at them side by side for one of the, you know, kind of the second time after I kind of did my initial analysis. Godzilla versus Kong definitely appears to be slightly bigger, kind of a chunkier little bit, especially in the body there, kind of around the torso. No way to really confirm that besides from getting out a tape measure and wrapping the two, which I'm not going to bother with. But very similar. Looking at the two, you know, kind of the chest on, and the camera's not even really picking up the exact differences, but you can kind of tell this one's got a little bit more of like a brownish in it, whereas this one's kind of almost more of a greenish in there. So you can definitely kind of see some paint differences, but not a ton. anywhere else. Sculpt is pretty much exactly the same. Looking at the heads, it looks like they did crisp up the head sculpt a little bit here on the Godzilla X Kong, which I would hope they would do because it's a newer figure, so keep improving, as HIYA always seems to do. Definitely looks like we have a little bit kind of more slimmed down. The jaw's been taken in a little bit. The eyes are definitely kind of spotted up and look a little bit nicer. There they are from kind of looking head on. So again, the newer one, which again is on the left side, looks a little bit more crisp. The eyes kind of definitely look a little bit better. They definitely kind of gave him a better pupil. So there is the two side by side, guys. Let me know what differences you're picking up on that look the most kind of extreme. Definitely kind of more of an arched neck. That might partially could just be from the pose he's sitting in. But they definitely made some tweaks. So to say this figure is a straight up repaint would be kind of inaccurate because they definitely have improved some, but they did carry over a lot of the original sculpt. So do I think it was worth buying? For me, of course, I'm going to buy everything HIYA Toys does, whether it's the tiniest repaint ever or whatnot. So I'm happy to have them both. It's definitely cool also to see kind of HIYA's progression, especially looking back. I should have brought over the other figure, the version 1. This is the version 2, kind of the updated Godzilla vs. Kong, where they fixed the neck and everything. So to kind of see them progress from that figure to this one, from that figure to this one, kind of being the final product before we get the Godzilla Evolved. Really cool to see. I'm sure HIYA will not be done with this model of Godzilla because I'd be super shocked if they do not give us, a one where he's like pulsing blue with all that radiation like he was after he got the nuclear energy from the plant that he attacked in, what was that, Paris, I think, in the movie. I really hope they give us a figure of that, because that Godzilla looks so cool with all those, just tons of blue energy just cracking through his skin. Really, really a cool idea to give us a toy, and HIYA would be throwing out money to ignore that awesome design. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Godzilla Exquisite basic figure from Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. HIYA Toys delivers another home run, although it, is very similar to past releases, and they carried over a lot of sculpts and whatnot. They definitely managed to make some improvements on a few minor issues that the last figure had, so I definitely think this is one of HIYA's strongest Godzilla sculpts to date. Definitely recommend picking one up, especially if you have not picked up any HIYA Toys Godzillas and you're looking to pick up your first one. Go with this guy if you want kind of this design of Godzilla. Obviously, if you want Godzilla Evolved or whatever, go ahead and pick up that design when it comes out. But if you want kind of the more classic Monster vs. Godzilla, this is the go-to design. This one definitely, I think, takes the cake for everything. HIYA Toys has done nothing but just kind of build upon their designs and improve everything. So this one does lose a tiny bit of points for articulation being a little tight. But like I said earlier, the more you work with those joints and loosen them up, the more they'll kind of work with you. So just if you're bummed about something, just work it. Sit there while you're watching this YouTube video, of course, and just work those joints, loosen them up a little bit, and it will definitely help you in the long run. But guys, let me know your thoughts on this figure in the comment section below. Are you excited for Godzilla Evolved? I know I for sure am. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and we'll see you in the next one.